Hey guys, and welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing studying philosophy as a subject at university, everything you need to know about that and how to make a strong application. So if you're interested in philosophy, keep watching because this will be very useful to you. All right guys, so we're joined today by my colleague James Milford. Hi James.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited to be talking about philosophy. So listen, let's jump straight in. A lot of people would say, studying philosophy, a bit of a waste of time. What do you even do with that? Has no applications in the real world. What would you say to those cynics?
Well, I would say there are two main motivations, at least for me, for studying philosophy. The first of which is that I just find the subject interesting in itself. So it's sort of the getting at the fundamental nature of thought and reality. So if you're someone who has pursued a different subject, for example, mathematics, you'll often start with certain axioms, certain principles that you take as given, right? And you'll work up from there, you'll build certain propositions from there. But really, some people will start off questioning those axioms, and philosophy is there to use deductive reasoning to really question those starting points. It's interesting in itself, but also the process of doing philosophy, that extremely careful deductive reasoning and analysis of concepts, has a lot of transferability over to the real world. So often people who go into consultancy, for example, from a philosophy background find that incredibly useful, and lots of recruiters look for philosophy graduates for those kinds of roles, because they are able to think clearly and to carve up a space, and to analyse problems very carefully and considerately.
Interesting. So it sounds like, in your specific case, number one, you just really enjoy the subject, and number two, there are careers beyond academia because philosophy teaches you a lot of transferable skills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, so philosophy itself is very broad, but really behind all elements of philosophy is that kind of extremely careful reasoning. So that incredibly careful thought. So
what are, outside of academia and teaching, what are some of the careers where philosophers work?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think consultancy is a very good career path for a philosopher, because you can very straightforwardly use that developed ability to reason and to analyse. I see a lot of people going into finance as well. They again using that ability to analyse. For someone like me, who has focused on the more formal end of philosophy, so the more mathematical end, there's some pretty straightforward transferability over to, say, computer science and working with formal languages, programming, that kind of thing. So you can really, depending on the kind of philosophy that you pursue, you can really gain certain hard skills as well, and you really have a path to more technical career.
That's really interesting. And philosophy is not on A level. If you're in the UK or IB subject or other, it's generally not a subject that's taught around the world and in many schools. So how can someone prepare to be a strong philosophy applicant if, let's say, philosophy is not offered at their school, or maybe they picked subjects that do not include philosophy and then realize they want to do it? So are they stuck? Should they just not apply?
No, certainly not. So I think a good way to prepare for a philosophy interview, and also just to determine whether you want to pursue philosophy further, is actually just to pick up one of those standard pop philosophy books. They might. So often those will consist of describing
philosophy for dummies.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so just they'll describe a certain case and they'll give you some preliminary answers, and then from there you can try and analyse the case, right, and come up with a narrative for the case.
Great, interesting. So it sounds like just reading basic literature. I'm guessing YouTube, but are there any podcasts or any resources that you specifically would recommend?
I think there are certainly lots of YouTube channels out there if you're interested in particular philosophy topics. But for me, I think that the best resource would be picking up some kind of introductory philosophy book, and it can be just a pop philosophy book, and then thinking about various different cases.
Great. And in your personal statement, when you're writing about philosophy, do you need to justify say stuff like, oh look, I want to study philosophy and I want to be an academic, because that's not quite believable if every applicant says they want to go into academia. So is it okay to say, look, I want to do philosophy because I see it as a stepping stone to something else, or would that play to your, would that play against you?
I think that's fine, yeah, because certainly a big part of studying philosophy is the transferable skills that you gain. So being honest about that, it's fine. Yeah, and just recognising the things that you can gain from the philosophy degree.
From the degree, and what are the transferable skills, the very clear logic. Are there any other benefits to philosophy? Do you become a good writer as a
yes? So certainly your writing will be improved dramatically, and your thoughts will be clarified, and your ability to analyse problems.
Great.
Will be improved. Yeah,
sounds like quite a few benefits. I remember when I was looking at university degrees, and I was considering applying for PPE at Oxford, and I really loved the politics introductory lecture, and economics I thought was okay, and philosophy I just thought, okay, this is too difficult for me. I couldn't manage. So thankfully I kind of dodged the bullet there and went for a material science, sort of engineering subject. But I have a lot of respect for people who can operate at a high level in philosophy, because it's actually really difficult. So no, thanks so much for sharing some of the advice with us. And guys, if you're looking at philosophy, remember that you do not need to have philosophy background as a school subject to apply for philosophy. There are other ways how you can demonstrate your passion and interest, as James has described. And if you're prepared to do the research, scout Google and YouTube. There are a ton of resources and a ton of things that you can put in your personal statement: podcasts, books, lectures, seminars that you can attend online. So do your research, and all the best. And for now, from James and I, good luck, and thank you, James.
Cheers.
Cheers.